I'm Jeannie Hoffman, and I'm with the Northwest Regional Spinal Cord Injury Model System, and I want to welcome you tonight to the forum. The forums, the video recordings, all of our online media are made possible by grants, one from the National Institute on Disability and Rehabilitation Research, as well as the Craig H. Nielsen Foundation. Tonight we are very pleased to have Shelley Wiechman here for a presentation on hypnosis for pain, spinal cord injury pain. And Shelley is a rehab psychologist at the Harborview Medical Center, similar to my position here at the U. And I'm pleased now to turn it over to Shelley. Thanks so much for coming.
Yes, thank you for inviting me to be here, and I really appreciate you all coming in tonight, given the fact it's just a beautiful, beautiful evening, and I really appreciate you being here. As Jeannie mentioned, I'm a psychologist over at Harborview, and I've primarily been working with patients with burn injuries, and we're studying a lot about hypnosis for acute pain. But as we're finding, I think similar to those with spinal cord injuries, those with burn, who've recovered from burn injuries also have ongoing chronic pain. So we're moving our research and our programs more into or additionally into helping those who have ongoing pain even after their burn injury has healed. Before I really get started, I'd actually like to hear from some of you right now. You won't have the microphone, but just what you hope to get out of tonight, or what you want to make sure that I cover, just so I can make sure I cover everything. Did anybody come in tonight really wanting to hear about some part of hypnosis in particular?
I just like that. I participated in that study here.
Oh.
And I just like to see it work.
Good. Good. And I'm going to present some results from that study if you haven't heard them already.
Very good.
Okay, good. Anyone else have anything you really want me to cover? Okay. So what I'm going to talk about then is I'm going to first go over the steps of hypnosis and what it entails. And that's going to hopefully help debunk some of the myths and misconceptions that are out there about hypnosis. I'm then going to go on into some of the research that we've done on hypnosis, and that's going to be very, very brief. And then we're going to talk about different types of pain and some studies we've done on hypnosis for persons with spinal cord injury. I'm also going to spend a little bit of time talking about some new technology that we've been using to help induce hypnosis called virtual reality. We're very excited about that, and I think that a lot of you will find that interesting. And then we're going to end with a kind of a group exercise, a group hypnotic induction, if you will. I want to do that instead of bringing one or two people up here and just doing it with them, because I didn't want it to feel like some stage show. And I thought everybody could get more of a benefit out of it this way. And it's going to be aimed at relaxation, and you can choose to participate or not. Nobody will know if you've participated or if you haven't, and I'll tell you more about it before we get started. But that we'll do at the end, and then we'll also save hopefully at least about a half hour for questions and answers that you might have, okay? Okay, so kind of getting started here, I actually borrowed this slide from Ivan Moulton, who ran the study on hypnosis for persons with spinal cord injury pain. And this kind of illustrates how far we have to go in debunking a lot of the myths associated with hypnosis. For some of you, your only experience or introduction to hypnosis might be at the state fair. And it's very, very different. There is no watch that we use. There's nothing going back and forth. Nobody is going to stand up and cluck like a chicken or do anything you don't want to do. That's not how hypnosis works when we're talking about hypnosis for pain control. So what does it entail? These are the steps of hypnosis. And the first step is building rapport. And I think unlike what you've probably seen in the media, hypnosis really is a partnership between the therapist and the client or the patient. It's not a situation where somebody is doing something to you. It's not mind control. It truly is a partnership. Therefore, you really need to like the person that you're going to be engaging with hypnosis. You need to feel comfortable with them, feel relaxed, and like them. For this reason, rarely will you do hypnosis in a very first session with a therapist. The other thing that I wanted to kind of point out at this point, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this later, I will go over to some of the suggestions that we have for finding somebody to work with on hypnosis. But this is such an important point, I wanted to bring it up now. And that's that I'm not a hypnotist. Jeannie is not a hypnotist. We're clinical psychologists who use hypnosis as one technique for helping to manage pain. And I think that's a crucial point. You might see ads out there for hypnotists, and that's all they do is hypnosis. And they may or may not be trained in any kind of behavioral or mental health background. And I think, pain is such a complex issue that you really need to be working with somebody who understands pain, who understands behavior management, depression, anxiety, and who maybe knows hypnosis as kind of one of many techniques that can help manage pain. And that's why, finding a psychologist, a social worker, a nurse, a counselor who has training in hypnosis as and can use it in the broader context of a multidisciplinary approach is important. And we'll talk again about that later. The next step to hypnosis then, after you've built rapport with the therapist, is deep breathing and relaxation. This is always a key component of hypnosis. It should be a relaxing process. And this relaxation helps to really focus the attention, focus your attention and let go of defenses. And that then kind of leads more into what we call deepening, which is an even sharper focus of attention. You're tuning out all around you and really focus in on the therapist's voice and what they're saying. And that's essentially what hypnosis is. It's an altered state of consciousness that really helps you to focus in, to relax, let go of some defenses or inhibitions, and to really focus your attention in on what the therapist is saying. This relaxation and the extreme focus of attention then leads into making you more open to suggestions for change. And this is really where the crucial work of hypnosis is. It's one of the most important steps. And when we're relaxed and focused, we're more open to new ideas, new frames of references. We're more suggestible in this state. And again, the things that therapist is going to be offering to you at this stage are merely suggestions. They're not demands, and it's not anything that you're going to do if you don't want to do it. You're still in control, and I think that's important to remember. And then the final stage is just the alerting stage. That's when you kind of broaden your focus of attention again and becoming more aware of the environment around you, and in a nutshell, you're then opening your eyes and back in this room again. That's just simply the alerting phase. So those are the key steps of hypnosis there. I thought it might just be interesting to look at how hypnotizability is measured and where the majority of the population falls on hypnotizability. A person's ability to be hypnotized is measured with a standardized measure. It's the Stanford Clinical Hypnosis Scale. And a person undergoes an induction, and they're given 12 different tasks to do while they're under hypnosis. And a lot of it have to do with the different senses, like pretending that you're smelling something that may not be there. Things that they're real simple and non-threatening. And then a person's scored based on their ability to complete those 12 tasks while they're under hypnosis. And so a person who scores a 12 completes all those tasks. They're what's considered highly hypnotizable. And then a person who's at the 0 end of the scale is low hypnotizable. The majority of the population falls there, if you can see, between like a 2 and a 2 to 6 is kind of the mean. And what that means is kind of the mild to moderate range of hypnotizability. And the studies have shown that people in the really mild to moderate range of hypnotizability can still benefit. They can still benefit from hypnosis. And most of the studies will show that the majority of the population can benefit from hypnosis. You don't have to be a 10, 11, or 12 to get the benefit. And I'm not going to go into any detail on this slide. I think that what I kind of wanted to emphasize during this part of the talk is that, hypnosis is no longer seen as kind of a fringe therapy or an alternative therapy. It's being studied. It's being taken seriously by the scientific community. And the purpose of this study was to take a picture of the brain while someone's under hypnosis to really figure out and understand what's going on. Is there really something going on in the brain while someone's under hypnosis? And there is. And again, the findings of this study showed that the nature of the post-hypnotic suggestions, so during that suggestion phase that I talked about, depending on what those suggestions were for, lit up different areas of the brain. So there is something that's going on. And I think the most important part of this slide is where it was published. If you can see there, I have a little pointer. It was published in Science. That's a very prestigious journal. Again, the scientific community is taking hypnosis seriously. They're really studying. They're using all this new technology to really understand what's going on inside the brain and how can we make hypnosis even more effective. So there's a lot of exciting new research going on in this area. And this next slide just demonstrates one of the most important studies that has come out recently, and that's the cost savings that can come with hypnosis. This is a study by Lang, and what she and her colleagues did was they looked at outpatient surgical procedures, and the group on the left received their outpatient medical procedure with just standard sedation, and then the group on the right received standard sedation plus hypnosis. And you can see that the costs associated with this medical procedure were cut in half for the group that received hypnosis along with the standard sedation. And if we're going to kind of promote the use of hypnosis and try to convince hospital administration or the powers that be that this treatment needs to be offered and insurance companies need to cover it, this is the kind of research we need to be doing and showing that we can, it can actually potentially save medical costs, and that's kind of what everybody ultimately wants. The other thing I wanted to point out about this, rarely does hypnosis take the place of standard sedation or medication. And I'll talk more about this, but even on the burn unit, hypnosis isn't replacing traditional narcotics. It's used as an adjunct. It's used along with the narcotics. And I think that's important to remember too. We're not replacing standard narcotics, we're supplementing. And what most of our studies have found is there's actually the need for the standard narcotics actually decreases if hypnosis is added. And this next study here was one of our earlier studies on the use of hypnosis for patients with burn injuries. And as many of you may know, burn debridement or burn recovery is excruciatingly painful, and it's a process where a person may be undergoing this burn dressing change once or twice a day, and we can't put them under anesthesia once or twice every day, and standard narcotics just aren't enough to sometimes even make the pain manageable. So Dr. Patterson actually was looking for something to help people that have to undergo this excruciating pain on a daily basis, and that's how he actually got into hypnosis in the first place. And one of his first studies was done with 3 groups of people. One group received hypnosis, one group received a placebo, and a third group was kind of a delayed treatment control. So they got hypnosis after the study was over. The first 2 days were just baseline data, and then the intervention was applied, the hypnosis, placebo, or the delayed treatment control. And what he found was that initially all the groups were pretty similar in their pain levels. They were all about an 8 on a 10-point scale. So 0 is no pain, 10 is the highest pain imaginable, and most people were falling at about an 8 before treatment. And after treatment, then, those who received the hypnosis fell to about a 4, which is very significant when you're talking about excruciating pain. So their pain was cut in half. Whereas those who received the control or the placebo condition, their pain slightly decreased. And this study was then repeated again later, and it was for persons just with really high pain, the people that reported the highest pain levels. And again, those who received the hypnosis had a larger drop in pain than those who didn't. And then finally, I just wanted to highlight this study that was done. This is kind of one of the few times when we had to use hypnosis to actually place opiates. After a person who had a large burn in the ICU had an adverse response to opiates and couldn't use opiates, we were asked to come in and do hypnosis. And luckily for this patient, it worked very, very well. And he was able to go through his entire burn treatment with hypnosis only. I was going to show a video on, it's trying to go now, on burn dressing changes is kind of so you have an understanding of where we're coming from, but it's actually not turning out very well, so I'm going to skip it tonight. And you can take my word that it's very painful. Okay, so now I want to kind of change pace a little bit and talk about the difference between acute and chronic pain. Acute pain takes place before healing has occurred. So there's initial injury and healing is still going on, whereas chronic pain sets in after the healing's already done. So the wound is healed, the injury is healed, but the pain remains. Then it becomes chronic pain. For acute pain, this physiology or the wound is a major role, but that's a real minor role when we're talking about chronic pain. And traditional biomedical treatments like medications, opiates, are very ineffective when we're looking at chronic pain. So there are some major differences between acute and chronic pain. Additionally, chronic pain is very, very complex. There's a number of factors that are involved that maintain chronic pain conditions. There's the psychological distress associated with it. There's a large comorbidity between chronic pain and depression and anxiety, and I think part of that is what we found over the years is that people don't get used to chronic pain. You don't adapt to it and adjust to it. It actually, am I moving something? It actually gets worse. It wears on people. It wears people down when you have to go through years of chronic pain. Grief is associated with maintaining chronic pain. A lot of times there's a grief over the loss of activity and what a person was able to do prior to the pain. Like I said, the original cause of the pain is often gone. It's often healed. Often deactivation is occurring, and that's simply when you are having pain with any kind of movement. What do? You stop moving, right? You start sitting a lot more or laying down, and your muscles become deactivated. They start to atrophy, and therefore then any movement you do try to do in the future is going to be far more painful because the muscles haven't been used. So that contributes to the chronic pain syndrome. And then you have guarding. That's when you have an initial injury. And I'm going to use ankle sprain as an example. You have an initial injury. You've sprained your ankle. It's very painful initially. And you start to guard it by your muscles around it tense up and tighten as a way of protecting it. What that does then is that it causes you to move or walk differently. If you've sprained your ankle, your muscles around it are guarding it. Now you're probably putting more weight on the other foot. Well, the physiology involved in moving differently is going to cause pain then in other parts of your body. There's a big correlation between hip pain, the opposite side of hip pain, and a sprained ankle because of the way people change how they move. So that's guarding. All of these things play a large role in maintaining chronic pain. So it's a much more complex process than the acute pain that's associated with like burn injuries that I was talking about. It's much, much more complex. And actually, the research on the use of hypnosis for chronic pain is fairly new. And some of the early studies have shown that it wasn't that effective. And what they're finding out is the post-hypnotic suggestions were wrong. They needed to be changed. When you're working with chronic pain, the post-hypnotic suggestions need to be focused on these 5 things that are maintaining the chronic pain syndrome, not on decreasing the intensity of the pain. So if you're working with somebody with chronic pain and trying to suggest that their pain's going to go away, hypnosis is going to fail. But if you're working with somebody with chronic pain and you might suggest that they're going to feel more energy and more activated and more motivated to participate in physical therapy or an exercise program, that's going to be more effective at helping somebody that's coping with chronic pain. So this is kind of where I get to the point in the talk and I feel like, okay, you guys have told us all of this and I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. But just to kind of highlight what we've learned from all of you over the years, spinal cord injury is associated with musculoskeletal pain. That is the type of pain, it's just muscle pain. So again, it can be associated with how you're carrying yourself, how you're sitting, what's going on. It might be, for example, neck and shoulder pain would be musculoskeletal pain. There's neuropathic pain, which is the pain associated with nerve regeneration or nerve pain. It's a lot of times the shooting, burning type of pain, pretty closely associated with the paresthesias. There's dysesthesia, which is pain on touch. So a person touches a certain area and there's pain. They've also found that the allodynia, which is it's pain caused by stimuli that normally do not produce pain. And over the years, persons with spinal cord injury have told us that they are experiencing all of these types of pain as a direct result of their spinal cord injury. So many researchers here at the University of Washington are focused on preventing the development of chronic pain after a disability, whether it be a spinal cord injury, a brain injury, a burn injury, a stroke. How do we prevent chronic pain from even starting after people have had major injuries? Again, what you've told us over the years, the vast majority of persons with spinal cord injury do report chronic, unpleasant sensations or pain. And I think that's an interesting distinction. Not everybody classifies unpleasant sensations as pain, but some of them are. And about a third describe the chronic pain as severe. And that is a very, very hard thing to live with, as many of you probably know. Pain in persons with spinal cord injury tends to exist at multiple body sites. Again, it doesn't improve with time. And I think largely for that reason, it can be associated with both depression and disability. That chronic pain, so, you know, a person with a spinal cord injury, as you know, is able to work, but if you put a chronic pain condition on top of that, it might be the pain that's preventing a person from doing things in life that they want to do, which is why we need to figure out how to treat this problem. Few medications are consistently helpful. Narcotics might provide some relief, but have potentially dangerous side effects. Many people can't function day to day on doses of narcotics required to manage the pain. And that's why there's a need for more non-pharmacological interventions like hypnosis, relaxation, imagery, meditation, autogenic training, because medications aren't going to be the answer. So this is kind of, I just wanted to use a slide to cue us that this is what I was talking about, why the post-hypnotic suggestions are so important and need to be aimed more at lifestyle changes than a reduction or elimination of pain because of all the complexity associated with chronic pain. All right, I did want to highlight this slide. These are the results of the study done by Ivan Moulton, which I think you participated in, sir, that you were talking about. It was done here at the UW with 34 persons with spinal cord injury and who were reporting chronic pain. It shows that the average current pain level was about a 6 at baseline. And after the intervention, the pain was able to be reduced to a 5, which again, when you're talking about chronic pain, that's significant. If you can take your pain down a level, that's important. And this level was able to pretty much be maintained 3 months later and then again at 6 months. Now, a little bit more about this intervention. It was a hypnotic intervention that included 10 sessions with a therapist, and it included some self-hypnosis training. So people were able to leave there and go away with things that they could do at home to maintain this effect. And again, at 3 and 6 months later, it was still effective. Another finding from his study was that sleep improved as a result of the hypnosis. Again, people were reporting sleep interference due to pain or sleep disturbance at about a 6. After the intervention, it would drop to a 4. So people are sleeping better when pain is reduced, and that effect was able to be continued at 3 months and pretty much again at 6 months. So I think that what Dr. Moulton's study found is that hypnosis is very promising. When we figure out how to do it right, it can be very promising, and it's actually, I think the study is continuing, and there's going to be more research in this area. So I wanted to summarize some of the results from his study then, that hypnotic analgesia seems to be effective for roughly 23% of persons with spinal cord injury. It's modestly effective for another 30% and generally ineffective for 38%. So about a third of the people it's not helping. And we need to figure out why. Overall, hypnotic analgesia and self-hypnosis training were associated with improvements in their current pain level, their average pain level, so that's their pain over the course of a week, and the unpleasantness associated with the pain. Again, not everybody rates their pain as unpleasant. A lot of people have daily pain that sometimes they're not even noticing anymore. It's just not that unpleasant. There was improvements in sleep disruption due to pain, and in a person's confidence in their ability to manage their own pain, which is also very important. These effects were generally maintained at 3 and 6 months later. And he also found that there were no baseline predictors consistently associated with treatment response. He did find that those who were a little bit more hypnotizable, you know, that hypnotizability scale I talked about in the beginning, had a better response, but even those who were mild to moderate in hypnotizability did show a positive response. Okay? Okay, now I'm going to switch gears a little bit more to how some of the technology is actually helping us with hypnosis. And this is called virtual reality. I don't know if any of you have heard of virtual reality. It's the kind of thing that you would see like at GameWorks. If you went to GameWorks and they put a helmet on you and you're kind of in a virtual world, whether I think now there's programs for like dancing. You can do a hip-hop dance or something. I think there's one for skiing, things like that. So you're putting a helmet on and you enter this virtual world. We're using the same type of technology to help induce hypnosis. And we're doing this in partnership with the Human Interface Technology Lab on campus, the HIT Lab. They're kind of the pioneers in virtual reality. They were initially approached years ago by the military in helping to come up with a flight simulator for military pilots because pilots weren't getting enough training since we hadn't had, at that time, a war in a while. They weren't getting enough kind of live training, so they asked the HIT Lab to come up with these simulators that a pilot could go in and get more realistic training. It's since really taken off, and a lot of our medical residents, our surgery residents are being trained through virtual reality. They have a simulated emergency room where they can practice treating patients in an emergency situation. They've got some simulated operations and surgical procedures that they do. So they're engaged in all types of research, and we're fortunate to be working with them. The reason we thought and actually Dr. Patterson and Hunter Hoffman initially had this concept. The reason they felt like virtual reality could be helpful in inducing hypnosis is what they were finding is the patients we were working with such severe acute pain who were in the hospital taking opiate medications and sedated from that often couldn't focus their attention well enough to benefit from hypnosis. I don't know if any of you can remember being back in the hospital and how clear your mind was thinking when you were undergoing all your treatments and had all the medications, but your attention isn't real sharp while you're in the hospital. And so they were looking for a way to make hypnosis less effortful. So how can we make it easier for a person to pay attention and to benefit? And so they came up with virtual reality. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it here. Dr. Hoffman first published on this in Scientific American. The steps of virtual reality hypnosis are the same as they are for a regular induction. There's the relaxation part and instructions for relaxation. And the person has on a helmet, and their focus of attention then is completely in the virtual world. They've actually tried helmets where it was just more the eyes, and even the peripheral vision, being able to see what's going on in the room, distracted a person. So for a full focus of attention, they're using these full helmets, and all they can see is this virtual world. In our case, Dr. Hoffman created Snow World. Again, we're working with patients with burn injuries. They wanted to come up with an image and a scene that was going to be relaxing for patients with burn injuries and kind of the opposite of what they'd experienced. So they created Snow World, which is essentially, they're in the mountains. They're in snow-filled mountains, and they're kind of floating down a snowy canyon. And in one of the programs that's geared more for just distraction, there's snowmen and penguins that pop up, and a person can interact with the environment by throwing snowballs at the penguins and the snowmen, and then they don't explode, but they poof when they're hit with a snowball. So the person can actually, there's hand controls, they can actually engage in this virtual world, and it's essentially like playing a video game. And they've compared it to Nintendo, especially with our adolescents. And virtual reality was far more successful than Nintendo, partly because if you're doing something painful on someone, and they can be playing Nintendo, but as soon as you do something painful, they stop and say, hey, ouch, what are you doing? Versus if they're engaged in a virtual world, when all their focus of attention is in this world and they can't see what you're doing, that seems to be more beneficial for people. So as you're floating down this canyon, for the hypnosis program, you're seeing numbers 1 through 10 as you're floating down the canyon. And you're listening to someone's voice talking, guiding you through the relaxation. You're getting more and more relaxed as you're floating down this canyon. And then you come to an end over a very beautiful scenic lake, and you're given some post-hypnotic suggestions for comfort and relaxation and pain management. And then I think the whole thing, that's about 4 minutes long, and then you return up the snowy canyon for the alerting phase. And the whole thing takes about 30 minutes. We haven't found any motion sickness related to this. We haven't found any nausea. The patients that do it really enjoy it and really like it. And here's just some pictures. It's probably not very realistic on the computer screen here, but these numbers will pop up, and this is the start of the descent down the canyon. And they're being talked through this descent. And they enter this tunnel that then takes them into a kind of a green pasture where they're given the post-hypnotic suggestions. And they're given the choice of either, they can keep their eyes open during this part or close their eyes and imagine their own comfortable, beautiful, relaxing place. And again, the whole reason for even developing this was all a person has to do is open their eyes and look at something. They're not having to really concentrate on creating an image that the therapist is talking about. Just open your eyes and we'll create it for you, follow along, and it's a lot less effortful. And then here's the ascent part. Then the numbers then go back from 9 up, or from 10 up to 1 as they're ascending back up. And this is kind of a picture of one of our first patients that tried it. You can see the helmet. It's gotten actually much lighter weight now, but it is all-encompassing in that the person doesn't have any peripheral vision. And you can kind of tell there that that's what they're seeing on this computer screen behind them. They've also developed, as you can imagine, this is hard to do when you're in a bathtub doing wound care with all this electrical equipment. So they've actually created a water-friendly helmet that they can take into wound care with them and go through this while they're in wound care. We actually don't have that right now because it's on display at one of the museums in New York. They were so excited about this, they wanted to display it. Oops. Okay, I do want to take a little bit time now to show you a video about this virtual reality hypnosis and what some of our patients think about it and how it's being used.
We were cooking pasta, and Nathan touched the pot and pulled it on himself.
6-year-old Nathan Neisinger has endured skin grafts, months of wound care, and more pain than safe doses of narcotics can kill.
It can ease their pain, but their mind's still directed to, they're going to go into the tank room, they're going to get scrubbed down.
Then there's physical therapy to stretch his scarred skin. But through it all, Nathan's brain can go off to play in a 3D computer-generated world called Snow World.
What we're really trying to do is just to pull his attention away from what's happening in the therapy, to put his attention in the virtual world, and by virtue of that, have him experience less pain.
The University of Washington psychologists Hunter Hoffman and David Patterson created Snow World for treating burn victims. Their clinical studies with patients like Nathan are showing how effective virtual reality is at fighting the fire of burn pain.
Patients who went into virtual reality reported having large reductions in how much pain they were experiencing, typically 40 to 50% reduction on average.
In an article in Scientific American, Hoffman described how a special virtual reality helmet that would work in an MRI scanner confirmed this. The brain scan showed far fewer pain signals with virtual reality than without it.
So I didn't feel anything really, but I did feel some pain, but not that much.
Anything to get his mind off, seeing the nurses with their, equipment trying to work on him helped a lot.
The researchers hope virtual reality will soon be available to help many more patients escape their pain. I'm Oren Schoenfeld.
So that was just a piece that was done on one of the local news stations. This patient that you saw here was so excited about it, and I think his mom alerted the media, and they did a story on him, and he, like I said, it really seemed to help him a lot. And a lot of our, especially our young patients, the kids really enjoy the virtual reality. Okay, I did want to tell you about one last study for a young woman who had a spinal cord injury, who had recurrent neuropathic pain for a number of years, who underwent this virtual reality hypnosis program that we were talking about. She was, like I said, a young woman with spinal cord injury, had the neuropathic pain or the nerve pain for many, many years that wasn't responsive to any medication, and she'd actually tried live hypnosis or hypnosis with a live therapist and didn't feel that benefited her either. So we offered her treatment with the virtual reality hypnosis, and she was the first person to undergo a trial of virtual reality for hypnosis with spinal cord injury pain. And if you can see here, I lost my, there we go. Okay, so before VRH, she rated her current average pain level as a 7, and then after undergoing the virtual reality hypnosis, it did drop to a 5. Not a huge drop, but for somebody with ongoing current pain, it is important. And she rated her the unpleasantness of her pain a little over a 7 prior to the virtual reality hypnosis, and it was able to drop down to a 6 after the intervention. And I think kind of more significantly for her was that she kept coming back for 33 sessions. We offered her as many sessions as she wanted. She was getting something from it. She felt it was beneficial. She said even if it may not last a while, I'm not feeling pain while I'm doing this, and that's enough for her. Just that short time of being without pain was important. So again, this is promising. It was only with one patient, but this is a project that I've kind of taken on, looking at how we can use the virtual reality hypnosis for all types of chronic pain syndromes, not just acute pain. I'm going to stop now and again change gears, and this is where I do want to do the demonstration. It's not going to be threatening. It's aimed at relaxation, and the whole goal is maybe that you'll leave here feeling a little bit more relaxed than when you came in. And again, you don't have to participate if you want. No one will know. You can choose to think about something else. Okay. All right, so we're going to just start just by getting comfortable. Just in your seat, try to find the most comfortable position. Take a few seconds. And as we talk here, you're likely going to find that it doesn't seem like I'm doing anything, that nothing seems to be happening, and that's okay. Just enjoy it, and just really notice what you're experiencing and what this is like for you. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. So most people feel more relaxed with their eyes closed. So go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to start by just taking some nice, long, slow, deep breaths in a way that's most comfortable for you. And I'd like you to notice just how much more comfortable you feel just by taking the deep breaths. Go ahead and take as many deep breaths as you feel comfortable. And you might already notice how good that feels. Maybe your neck and shoulders are feeling a bit warmer. And I'd like you to take 4 more very deep, very comfortable breaths. And as you exhale, just notice how comfortable your shoulders can become and how comfortable your eyes can feel when they close. Now, as you continue with the nice, long, slow, deep breaths, I'd like to picture in your mind a staircase. Any staircase you like, but it's got 20 steps, and you're at the top. You don't need to see all 20 steps at once. Just see the staircase, and you can go down the staircase any way you'd like. You can float. You can imagine it. You can step however you'd like. Now in a moment, I'm going to begin to count from 1 to 20. And with each number I say, I'd like you to take a step or float down that staircase. 1 step for each number that I count. And notice how much more comfortable and relaxed you feel at each step as you go down. Again, 1 step for each number that I count. The larger the number, the farther down the staircase. And the farther down the staircase, the more comfortable you feel. So starting with 1, take 1 step down the staircase. 2, 2 steps down the staircase. 3, 3 steps down the staircase. And maybe you already noticed how much more relaxed you can feel. And there might even be places in your body that feel more relaxed than others. Maybe your shoulders feel more relaxed than your neck. All that matters is that you feel more comfortable. 4, take 4 steps down the staircase. feeling other places in your body beginning to relax. And just notice that maybe there's a deep, relaxing, restful heaviness in your forehead as it flows down your body, across your eyes, across your face, and into your mouth and jaw, down through your neck, just deep, restful, and heavy. 5 steps down the staircase. You're a quarter of the way down and already beginning to feel really, really relaxed. Just enjoy this feeling of relaxation. 6. Take 6 steps down the staircase. Perhaps you're beginning to notice the sounds that were distracting you are now less distracting. And if you notice your mind start to wander, let that be a cue for you to tune in more closely just to the sound of my voice. Anything you notice can become a part of your relaxing experience of comfort. 7. Take 7 steps down the staircase. And notice the heavy, resting, comfortable, relaxing feeling spreading down your shoulders and into your arms. And you might notice that one arm is feeling heavier than the other, or warmer than the other, or maybe not. It doesn't matter. Just enjoy this feeling of relaxation and comfort. And 8. Take 8 steps down the staircase. Perhaps noticing that as you relax, your heart seems to beat faster and harder than you might expect. Or you might feel lighter than you thought you would. 9. Take 9 steps down the staircase, breathing comfortably, slowly, and deeply. Notice the heaviness really beginning to sink in as you continue to notice the pleasant, restful, comfortable relaxation spreading through your body. And 10. Take 10 steps down the staircase, halfway to the bottom, wondering what might be happening, or wondering what might be at the bottom of the staircase. And just know it really doesn't matter. Just enjoy this feeling of comfort and relaxation. And 11 steps down the staircase. Noticing maybe that you feel increasingly heavy, more and more comfortable, and there's nothing to bother you and nothing to disturb you as you become deeper and deeper relaxed and you enjoy this pleasant feeling. And 12 steps down the staircase. I wonder if you notice how much more easily you can hear the sound of my voice and how easily you can understand the words I say with nothing to bother you and nothing to disturb you. 13 steps down the staircase, feeling more relaxed and more comfortable. And 14 steps down the staircase, maybe noticing the sinking, restful pleasantness as your body seems to just sink down deeper and deeper into the chair beneath you, with nothing to bother you and nothing to disturb you, as though the chair holds you comfortably and warmly. And 15 steps down the staircase, 3/4 of the way down the staircase, deeper and deeper relaxed, with nothing at all to do but to enjoy yourself. And 16 steps down the staircase, wondering perhaps what to experience at the bottom, and yet knowing how much more ready you'll already feel to become deeper and deeper relaxed and more comfortable, with nothing to bother you and nothing to disturb you. 17 steps down the staircase, closer and closer to the bottom, perhaps feeling your heart beating harder and harder, and feeling the heaviness in your arms and legs becoming even more clearly comfortable, knowing that nothing really matters except your enjoyment of your experience of comfort and relaxation. 18 steps down the staircase, almost to the bottom, as you continue to go deeper and deeper, relaxed, heavy, comfortable, and restful. Nothing really to do, no one to please. Just notice how very comfortable you can feel. And 19 steps down the staircase, almost to the bottom. Nothing to bother you and nothing to disturb you, as you continue to feel more and more comfortable and more relaxed. And 20, you're at the bottom of the staircase, deeply, deeply relaxed and feeling deeper with every breath. As you step from the bottom of the staircase, you'll be in a dark, safe room and notice a door with a bright gold doorknob. As you turn the doorknob and walk through the door, you're going to leave everything that is negative in your life outside. As you shut the door, you're shutting out everything that's negative, whatever that might be. Now, as your mind drifts, I'd like you to go back to some previous pleasant memory in your life. Any kind of memory can be about anything as long as it's pleasant. Can be from any age as long as it's pleasant. Now focus on the feelings that are filling your body as you remember these pleasant memories. You may be filled with a sense of joy, or calmness, or fulfillment. Whatever these feelings are, just enjoy them and experience them right now. And you may notice that later, when you open your eyes, these feelings may still be with you, filling your body. You may notice that later tonight, as you lie in bed, that these pleasant feelings are still with you as your head touches your pillow. And you may not understand it, and that's okay. And you may feel more comfortable and relaxed than you thought you would be. You might even be surprised at how comfortable and relaxed you feel, and how peaceful you feel inside. Whatever these feelings are that you're experiencing, just enjoy them. And know that you can experience them anytime just by taking some long, slow, deep breaths and tuning out the world around you. This is your mental vacation, and you can take it anywhere. Now I'm going to be silent for a while to let you suggest anything that you want to yourself, anything that you would like to experience. Now in a moment, but not yet, not until you're ready, I'm going to count from 20 to 1. And as you know, I'd like you to feel yourself going back up the steps. 1 step for each number that I say. You'll have all the time you need, and you'll feel yourself slowly and comfortably going back up the steps. 1 step for each number. And when I reach 3, your eyes will be almost ready to open. When I reach 2, they'll be open, and when I reach 1, you'll be alert, awake, and refreshed, perhaps as though you'd had a nice nap. And you'll be comfortable, but you'll be alert and feel very, very good. And you might even be surprised at how good you're feeling. Starting with 20, 19, 18. Just feel yourself going back up the steps to 17, 16, 15. A quarter of the way back up, more and more alert. Feel yourself becoming more and more alert at 14, 13, 12, 11. At 10, you're halfway up the stairs. More and more alert. You're comfortable, but more alert. To 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You're wide awake, alert, refreshed, and relaxed. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Any other question?
Sure, is that okay, Jeannie? That's a question.
How do you distinguish between being hypnotized and sleep?
There's a fine line, but with sleep you're not as focused, and you're not probably focused on my voice. A lot of people will say they kind of drift in and out, and that's fine. But you opened your eyes when you were supposed to, which makes me think you were at least at some part of your mind was hearing what I was saying. And if you were asleep, you probably wouldn't.
Another step or two, and I could have gone to sleep.
Good.
Was I hypnotized or just sleeping? Okay.
Well, you woke up, you're likely.
Yeah, I never lost, I always knew where I was and everything.
And you're awake now?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people will say you feel like you've just had a nap. I'm curious how long you think that was. How much time do you think went by? About 20 minutes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That was 20 minutes?
You're awake? Any other comments right now? Or okay, let me go on then to the very last part, and then we'll open it all up to questions. I think everybody did wake up. Can I see everybody's eyes? Yeah. Okay, I did want to just end, before we kind of talk about your experience here, I did want to just end with a few tips on finding a therapist. So if you do want to work with somebody on hypnosis, who's trained in hypnosis for pain control, again, the first thing I would recommend is don't just go to somebody who advertises themselves as a hypnotist, because again, that implies that that's pretty much all they do is hypnosis. You want to go to a therapist who has training in hypnosis, among other things. And then I think that's the second point I was making. The third point, I think the most important point, is having good rapport with the person that you find. And it's okay to shop around. If you go in for an initial visit with someone and you just don't click or don't feel comfortable with them, it's likely not going to work. And it's fine for you to then go to somebody else until you find somebody that you're really comfortable with. That's kind of all the suggestions I have for that, is just finding somebody that is trained to do other things besides just hypnosis, but has an understanding of chronic pain management and who you like. And that's kind of essentially it. I did want to acknowledge that most of the projects that I talked about were funded from the National Institute of Health or by NIDER.
Thank you, Shelley. Thanks for your wonderful talk.